Hey, here we.
It's right here.
Oh, what was that countdown, Blake? You threw me off with that. All right, it's time for Bollox Talks and Tangents. We got a great show. We got some fun stuff. We got amazing sponsors. We got Lenny in here with Post-it notes and notes over there, and I mean he's got stuff everywhere. We don't even know what's going on with Lenny over there.
And a very high mic for him.
And the mics hit him in the forehead.
Gotcha.
So he if there is a thing as microphone dyslexia, Lenny has it.
Along with the rest of mine.
But we got President Pets is what we're talking about today, and we're excited about it. Our whiskey of the week is this is the first bourbon we finished in here because we bounce around with so many different bourbons and stuff like that. So this is obviously it's one of our favorites.
I like the gold gradient for the rest of them, however.
Yeah.
This one's excellent. Excellent.
One of our favorites. It's the port finish bourbon from St. Augustine Distillery. So they take the bourbon and they finish it in the port barrels from San Sebastian Winery, and it gives that nice smooth. I mean,
so it's just an extra touch of sweetness.
Got a little bit of sweet to it.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've ever tried this in an old fashioned.
No, I usually drink most of my stuff neat.
It's really, really good in an old fashioned. Cheers, sir. All right, and thank you.
L'chaim.
Whatever he said.
To all you out there.
All right.
L'chaim, yeah.
All right, time to talk about our sponsors. We already talked a little bit about St. Augustine Distillery, but they also have City Gates Spirits. These guys have the best tasting tours in town. Go over and check them out. The flavors at City Gates are so creative and so unique.
They really are.
If you haven't been there, you really need to give them a chance. All right, these are my main guys. Reggie is the man. And I saw Reggie coming out of one of our other sponsors today. He had lunch.
Was he at Kaiser's?
Yeah,
he eats there a lot. It's a good thing. He's very loyal to. He's very loyal to that sandwich.
Yeah, he had lunch at one of our other sponsors. But Reggie has some great food over there at Meehan's Irish Pub. They have 3 bars in one. They got Johnny's Oyster Bar. They got the pub downstairs, and the backyard always has a lot of life to it. But it's like 3 unique experiences. So you can do a pub crawl in the own pub. In
exactly.
One pub. So
and. You know what? And it's funny because I'm gonna tie in later to Teddy Roosevelt, but also the wings are back on the menu for football.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Reggie asked me to pass on to all you rugby fans out there.
Oh yeah.
The rugby finals are coming up, and 3:00 on Saturday afternoon. You've got Ireland against New Zealand, and I would not recommend rooting for New Zealand in that place if Reggie's around. Just better be rooting for Ireland.
Keep your Kiwi ass at home.
He said every TV will be on the rugby match there on Saturday at 3.
Well, at least I know where to find Derek.
Yeah, good.
All right. St. Augustine Pirate Museum, amazing people. They always giving back to the community. They have an incredible destination. If you haven't been there, they have over 800 artifacts. Go check out these guys, St. Augustine Pirate Museum. All right, I'm going to let you talk about Kaiser's because you know the menu better than I do, and I love the menu.
Best new deli in town. You know, you can get a hot pastrami sandwich. You can get a daddle Reuben with a daddle pepper Thousand Island dressing just to perk it up a little bit. Make great Italian sandwiches called the Bada Bing. Weighs in sometimes, that can weigh about a pound if you're putting all the vegetables on there to, make it more healthful for you, along with all the cold cuts that come with it. It's a great place. Plus, it's on-premise beer and wine. And you can get your beer and wine to take home with you as well. Got a freezer with some grab-and-go meals. If you don't feel like cooking one night, can work with that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place. Good food and really nice people. And if you're ever looking for a gift or a charcuterie board or you're entertaining, Jules makes the best charcuterie boards in town. They are beautiful. She'll personalize them for you. I mean, we've even done them where it spelled out people's names in them. She's done it and spelt names out of cheese and palm trees.
Hopefully you have a short name.
Well, this was
Take it easy on Jules.
this was Sunset Grill actually.
Oh, wow.
We did one for one of their holiday parties. And
Excellent.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, the Roosevelt Room. Roosevelt Room to me is the best breakfast in town. I love it. It's right downtown, located right downtown on St. George Street, next to Prohibition Kitchen. Some people don't even realize it's there, but
Yeah.
you really need to stop in, have lunch there, or have breakfast there. To me, the food is excellent.
Yep.
And they have an event space that takes care of up to 75 people. So.
Go early because the chairs are up at 3:00. If they're not having an event, they're done. It's a breakfast lunch place only, but their breakfast potatoes are some of the best in town.
Oh, excellent. So, and you can have a mimosa on a Sunday morning if you want to do that. All right, Abare, Kresge and Associates, the best CPAs in town. A lot of people do their taxes, like in the springtime or something like that. Yeah, I guess when mine's due. Yeah, this week.
Right.
So
Extensions are good.
Give these guys a call. They'll take care of you. They'll make you look smart, and they'll save you money. All right, Coquina Coast Realty got some announcements to make.
Oh, nice.
All right, Coquina Coast Realty. We have a new listing coming out. All right. We have actually 2 new listings coming out. One will come out in November. I'll give that one later on. Okay. But the one that's coming out this week is My House is for Sale.
Ooh.
Downtown. It's a great location. It's an amazing house, and it's 14 Riberia. It's a historic house built in 1900 here in St. Augustine, and it's a walking distance to every one of our sponsors. So, give me a call if you're interested in. It's zoned where it can be nightly for Airbnb, and just a beautiful house. It's been real good to our family, and we're moving to the country.
Ooh.
Yes.
Just a longer commute for you, sir. Just a longer commute.
We're moving to the country.
Okay.
So while we're moving to the country, you know what one of my word origins is?
You're a hayseed?
No. Buy the farm.
Ooh.
So I wanted to find out where the origin of buy the farm, because when you buy the farm, it means you pretty much have kicked the bucket and you're dead. So the origins kind of are a little,
okay.
It's a little muddled. Yeah. So there's 2 definitions of it. One of them kind of went to Civil War time, where so many people died in battle on the farms, and they stayed there.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, he bought the farm. So you went there and you stayed there and he bought the farm. That was the first origin. The other origin, which kind of makes the most sense, is, and it started a little bit before Civil War, is what it sounds like. When someone passed, there was death benefits that came along with it. And the death benefits from the father or whoever allowed for the person to buy the farm.
Okay.
So dad would buy the farm, or dad would die, and they would allow the son to buy the farm.
Where did death benefits come from, or was it just a pass through? It was just a pass through. Okay,
inheriting pass through.
Okay, yeah.
They got their money the old fashioned way.
Right.
They inherited.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but that's the buy the farm. Yeah. So there was 2 definitions that came along with it. Both of them have had some interest to them, but it looks to me like the Civil War one is when it really kind of took off.
And sadly for a lot of people and a lot of families
on a lot of farms.
Yeah.
So. All right.
Well, we're going to be talking about all sorts of presidential pets today. Mm-hmm. So, some of these are very interesting, but a couple of them are a horse of a different color.
Horse of a different color?
Horse of a different color.
Okay.
Which, many people think of the line out of The Wizard of Oz in 1939 where Dorothy is amazed as the horse that is pulling the carriage that they're in changes colors as they go through. Mm-hmm. But it's also just a way to explain something that was different than you were expecting, or a different issue or a different item than you were expecting.
Yeah.
So, you and I are talking about, I don't know, baseball, and all of a sudden you bring in football, and that's a horse of a different color as far as that conversation's going.
In the conversation, it's a horse. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, where the hell did that come from? I do that a lot.
Yeah, it's a different issue than you would expect. But a lot of it was from The Wizard of Oz, is where people will go immediately to that. Mm-hmm. But a horse of a different color is, it's just a unexpected change of what you were thinking.
Gotcha.
So
okay, yeah. All right. This one, I don't know if you've ever been called this, but it was a very common term in my household. Numbskull. Were you ever called a numbskull growing up?
No.
What were you called? What was the negative
Leonard.
term? What was the negative term that was put upon you, besides saying your full name?
Well, let's see. Knucklehead or...
Knucklehead, yeah.
Right. which I've adapted to chucklehead for a lot of people. And my father would call me a couple of different things when he was trying to make his point, and it wasn't numbskull, but it was certainly, don't get old and forget stuff. And that's not what he said.
Don't get old and forget stuff.
Right? Okay. Yeah, that's not what he said. But or a dunderhead.
Dunderhead.
Yeah.
Every family has something. I mean, mine was dipshit. Yeah. But
that was lovely.
Like, what do I call you when you mess up?
Ooh.
In the mic, please.
Sorry, I had it off. Okay. I can't remember off the top of my head. You probably remember it better than me.
I think it kind of. I think I just kind of give you the look, like the what the hell look. I have a good what the hell look.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You stare him down and make him quake.
I just like, what is that? I have a good what the hell look.
There you go.
Or a bad one.
Right. It's right. It's
depends on who I'm giving it to,
right.
and at the time, and my timing of the what the hell look.
Then which way the whammy's going? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but numbskull, it first came into play in early 1700s. 1706 is the first time it was really kind of used, and it kind of means exactly what it sounds like. Numb, and the way it came to be is cranium is skull, and it came from the word not a Flemish word, a Norrish word, scania or something like that is how it came into play as a skull, being a cranium. And numb just means you big dummy. Like you're numb to the, and that word came into play in the 1400s, and they kind of got merged together in the 1700s.
Nothing to do with surgery or anesthesia, or
no,
just they wouldn't numb your skull before they went in there to give you your craniotomy.
No, you're just a numbskull.
Okay,
so it had nothing to do with Novocaine or anything like that. The word numb from 1400s basically meant stupid. And it was basically NUM, and then somehow the B got
thrown in there. Well, yeah, it's a silent B, so it's there, it's not there.
Yeah.
Well,
to be or not to be.
That is the question.
Yeah.
Is it nobler? Anyway.
Yeah.
Because we end up with Shakespeare everywhere.
Yeah.
Actually, today may be a Shakespeare-less day, I would think. Nobody named their pets Hamlet, Othello. We could be okay.
Yeah.
But we will be talking about a lot of animals. And a
lot of fun animal stories, and I got a list down here also. We're not going to run out of material today.
No, not even close. Yeah. We could do this for weeks.
Yeah.
But we're getting out of it now because it's October. But last month, 2 months ago, we went through the dog days.
Yeah. Dog days of summer.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And back in the ancient Greek and Roman times, it was hot, it was drought. And they considered it times of misfortune. And the reason they called it the dog days is at that point in time, it coincided with the rising of Sirius the dog star, which was the brightest star in the sky at that point in the year.
That makes sense.
So that's where the dog days of summer came from.
Sirius.
Sirius, yep.
Seriously?
No, not really. I'm just making it up. Okay. But the interesting thing is that's changing because as, the galaxy moves, the Earth's rotations change, the orbits change, the stars are coming up at different times of the year. So pretty soon we're going to be at the point where it's going to be coming up in December. So it's not going to be the dog days of winter. So you're still going to have the hot summers, but it won't. I mean, it'll correspond with the rising of Sirius.
It'll be summer in Australia.
Well, that's true. But I don't know if Sirius rises.
Sirius in Australia, but it's summer somewhere in December.
That was one of the more interesting things when I was in Australia, and I looked up, and all of a sudden you're looking at the Southern Cross, and it gives you a little perspective of where in the world or where on the planet you actually are.
Yeah,
because it was a whole different set of constellations down in the Southern Hemisphere.
I can tell you right now, and this is and Rebecca and I are going to Iceland in the first week of December, so we can see the Borealis, northern lights, and we got to see the Southern Cross when we were in Africa. So I had to go see the Borealis. Have you seen the Borealis?
I have not yet.
Yeah, I'm so rooting for the 4 days we were there. We get a chance at it.
Yeah.
So but with my luck,
Iceland is supposed to be magnificent. And you're going to be there in December.
Yeah,
it'll be a bit brisk.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring a jacket.
It's early December.
Bring a jacket.
Yeah, the first week of December.
Yeah.
Yeah, we plan on that.
Okay,
it's Iceland.
Good. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Or you could just snuggle.
Yeah. But it's Iceland.
Yeah.
We're going to go outside.
Yeah.
And we're going to get in the
thermal
salt,
ponds?
The salt thermal pods.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it.
That's good. That should be. Yeah, everything I've heard. We haven't been there. Actually, it's not true. I changed planes on the way to Paris one year in Reykjavik. which and this is in the early '80s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was airport.
That's where we're staying is Reykjavik.
Yeah, and you'll just see every cooler has just frozen mutton and lamb everywhere you go, and all it is just lamb and some salmon, but a lot of lamb.
Yeah, I heard a lot of salmon.
Yeah.
And one of the things we wanted to see is a volcano.
Okay.
2 days after we booked the flight, a volcano erupted. So now I don't know if it's going to be dormant or not in December or not, how much we're going to get to see of the volcano. Yeah. So that was one of the things we really wanted to see was an active volcano, and it was there, but then it erupted.
Planet's still rumbling. You have earthquakes in Afghanistan and everything else going on. By the way, when you're there, just watch out for trolls.
Trolls?
Very careful of trolls, yeah.
They live under a bridge?
They live under a bridge. Also, they live on the mountains. They make a lot of trolls and the elves. And the
elves live there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's good to know.
Very big. You'll see them, and there's like elves crossing on the highways, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So be wary.
Good
be wary. Yeah.
I've been to Maine where there's moose crossing, but I've never seen elves.
Moose is big. You don't want to cross a moose.
Yeah. No.
No, you don't want to cross a moose.
And they're angry.
Yeah.
They're angry because they can't see.
Actually, according to Woody Allen, the moose was furious, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
That is one of the greatest stories ever.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So what's your last one?
The Dog Days.
Oh, the Dog Days was your last one. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did.
Talking about the Dog Days. Mm-hmm. Of all the presidents that you've went through, which dog do you think's the most famous dog of all the presidents?
Well, Laddie Boy was Harding's dog, was the first dog that got press coverage. He was the first dog that the newspaper started following. But I think you're going to have to go with Checkers didn't count because Nixon wasn't president when he had Checkers. Mm-hmm. You had Fowler. I think contemporarily speaking, it's Commander who's biting everybody right now, Joe Biden's shepherd.
Yeah. Well, I think they sent him away, didn't they?
They did, and they also had sent Major away too. Apparently, had the same. Was it Major? One the other one before Commander. One of them passed away after 13 years. Mm-hmm. But if we're doing dogs, it's tough. There's so many of them.
Well, the dog, Fowler's the one who really stuck out with
right.
me.
Well, that was it.
Because FDR, and a lot of people think Fowler was with him the whole time. Fowler didn't come into play until 1940. So, and he got Fowler as a pup, a Scottish Terrier, Fowler. And he became so attached to Fowler that he would not allow, here's a guy who was wheelchair bound, and he would not allow anyone to feed Fowler except for himself. And he fed him at the exact same time, and he fed him, he would stop doing what he was doing and make sure Fowler was taken care of. And to me, that seems to be the closest tie to a dog for a president that I saw in all the lists that I saw.
Well, there was big to-do involved with Fowler because at one point in time, I guess Roosevelt was in Alaska in the Aleutians, and, they leave, and all of a sudden, I guess nobody did a pretty good head count or dog count, and Fowler was left.
I thought it was in the Pacific, but it was
No, it was the Aleutians. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And,
that's still the Pacific.
Very true, very true. And he had to send a couple of ships back to get Fowler.
His dog, yeah.
Right. And people are pissed going, you're spending all this money to pick up the dog? And he's going, look, you can chide me, you can pick on my wife, you can pick on me, you can pick on my family, but don't be picking on my little dog Fowler.
Yeah.
Fowler's a Scottish Terrier, and nobody was more upset that we were spending this money to get him than he was because he was Scottish.
He's Scottish.
Right. But that was also the Fowler speech was something that, sort of catapulted him to win his next election.
Yeah.
Because it endeared him to so many other people.
Yeah, and Bobby just said something about the Basset Hound that LBJ picked up, but that was a beagle.
A beagle, right?
It was a beagle. It was a hound dog. But it was a beagle, and that was him.
Right.
He had him and her. Mm-hmm. All right. Unfortunately for him,
Oof.
him the beagle that he picked up, and unfortunately for him got ran over by the presidential limousine.
Go figure. But when LBJ was getting all this guff about picking the dogs up by their ears, Harry Truman says, what are all these critics talking about? That's how you handle a hound.
Yeah.
So Truman came to LBJ's defense for that one.
He might have created PETA. Thanks a lot, LBJ.
Right.
LBJ was not a nice human being, by the way.
Well,
I don't know how much you read about the man.
Well, he would have a lot of, talk to a lot of people while he was sitting on the toilet and going to the bathroom, and he left the door open and was having his conversation with anybody.
He would pull his wiener out, and, he wasn't the first one to do it, Clinton. You weren't the first.
Right.
So, but, he would just whip it out and say, yeah, you can, just rude. He was a very rude man from Texas.
Well, but apparently he likes singing duets because he had a mongrel, other than him and her, he had a mongrel named Yuki.
Okay.
And he would do duets with this dog Yuki. So I'm not quite sure how good, bad, or indifferent LBJ was singing, but Yuki would howl, and LBJ would probably howl with him, and they would do duets. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would get the dog to do a duet with him.
Okay.
Very presidential.
Yeah. Another dog, and there's so many dogs that are out there that are unique in the presidents, but another dog that I thought was very unique and I thought it was very creative was George Washington's
You like this
dog.
one, yeah.
I really liked this dog because it was such a snub.
Right. That was great.
He had a greyhound that wasn't that quick.
Right.
And this was his favorite animal, and he called him Cornwallis. After General Cornwallis.
I thought that was brilliant.
You know, so you gotta love the creativity of Washington on that one. Yeah. So
I thought that was just great. Then you have a whole raft of birds floating around or flying around.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of different types of birds. There was mockingbird. I guess people collected mockingbirds.
That was Jefferson had a mockingbird named Dick.
There was a couple of them. Yeah. Dick was his favorite mockingbird.
Yeah, exactly. Which brings us. How did we get right back to LBJ again?
That was his favorite mockingbird. But there was the first Polly,
which I think was brilliant because
was actually the Madisons, but the Polly that was most popular.
Yeah, Paul or Polly, yeah.
Yeah, Paul. He called him Paul, or her Paul. And that was Andrew Jackson's.
And it was so fitting because, Andrew Jackson, who, was not the most popular president, and he made no bones about being him. He was really pretty straightforward I don't give a shit,
Yeah.
But it makes perfect sense that, this parrot spoke very well. Well, let me rephrase that. The parrot spoke. I won't say very well because the parrot learned how to swear.
Yeah. Andrew Jackson taught him profanity.
Right.
And at his funeral, the parrot, Paul, as in Polly, Paul had to be removed.
Yep.
Because
that was pretty great.
She was cussing. Is it cussing or cursing?
Depends on where you are.
You're north of the Mason-Dixon line. What do you say?
That's cursing.
Cursing.
Yeah.
Do you ever say cussing?
Seldom.
Okay.
Seldom.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Andrew Jackson would say cussing.
Absolutely.
All right.
And then spit.
Yeah. And Andrew Jackson, just so we understand how tough Andrew Jackson was. Andrew Jackson got shot in the chest. All right. He got shot in the chest, and he beat up. He got shot in the chest and in the stomach. Got shot twice. And he beat up the guy with the gun with his cane and almost killed him.
Yeah.
Lived through it. The guy did, like, they said he survived like 250 duels. Yeah. Like, the guy just liked to fight.
Absolutely. Well, he was very good at it.
Yeah.
The battle. He won the Battle of New Orleans after the War of 1812 was over. Mm-hmm. He was, by the way, for those of you scoring at home, he was the first territorial governor of Florida.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was only like for a year, but he was the first territorial here in St. Augustine.
1821, right. He made it the capital, for sure.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't realize this. In the 6th presidential election, all right, so we had John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson, and then there was 2 other competitors. It was the first time the public was allowed to vote. Prior to that, you couldn't just vote for a president. It was appointed by the delegates. All right? Mm-hmm. So Washington never got a single vote from the common man. John Adams didn't. Thomas Jefferson didn't. Madison didn't. Monroe didn't. All right? It wasn't until John Quincy Adams that's when they did the first popular vote. Still went to the Electoral College. All right? Andrew Jackson won the popular vote. The person who finished 4th actually died during the election. Okay? But when it went to the electoral, no one had enough electoral votes, including the dead guy.
Well, that's good.
Thank goodness. But, word didn't travel so fast back then.
Yeah.
So it went to the House of Representatives to decide. In the House of Representatives, where this guy had a lot of friends, was John Quincy Adams. And John Quincy Adams, that's how he became the 6th president of the United States. He was appointed by the House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. He later went back into the House of Representatives because the next election, our 7th president, was Andrew Jackson.
Right.
So that's the first popular vote didn't go well.
Right.
You know,
Well, it depends on whether you're Jackson or Adams.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even John Quincy Adams was kind of a humble guy.
Right.
I mean, he was.
And ostensibly the brightest president we've had.
He could have been
He was
probably one of the
theoretically
best,
the smartest president we've had.
one of the best legal minds we've had as presidents.
Yep.
You know, and if you ever get a chance to watch the movie or read the book Amistad, you need to do that.
Yeah.
You need to do that.
Yeah, that was great.
All right, what we talked about the gray parrot Paul, but the other animals that Andrew Jackson had, and I don't think I saw it on anyone else's list, is he had fighting cocks.
Right.
He actually had,
I saw that, yeah.
and he would have cockfights on the White House.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a man of the people. A man of the people.
We've changed quite a bit.
Yes.
So.
Well, again, that was Andrew Jackson.
But did you see him on any other list of fighting?
No, just his.
I look for that.
Yeah, no. We had a one-legged rooster. Mm-hmm. We had a bunch of other birds, but and I got news here. I don't think that one-legged rooster would have done so well in the ring.
What was the one-legged rooster's name?
I don't remember.
Fierce.
There you go. Right. So maybe he would have done better. Maybe he lost a leg in a cockfight.
That might be how he lost it.
That makes more sense now in retrospect.
Yeah.
But I got an odd one for you.
Okay.
John Quincy Adams' wife kept silkworms.
Oh yeah, and actually she passed him along to Madison and Monroe.
Right, because she would take the silk and she would spin silk out of it. She would make fabric out of it. Yeah.
Abigail. Or no, Abigail.
That was Louisa.
That was Louisa. Yeah.
Louisa, yeah. She would spin out of the silk that the worms had. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean there was people that had alligators. Jefferson was given 2 grizzly bears
from Zebulon Pike, the guy who found Pike's Peak.
Yep,
yeah.
And
he gave him back.
He gave him to Philadelphia.
He gave him back, right?
He gave him to Philadelphia. One of the presidents that you got to talk about when we talk about presidents is Abraham Lincoln. So, and one of the best stories and a tradition that's still around today is the forgiveness of the turkey. So, Abraham Lincoln had a turkey. Turkey's name was Jack. They raised the turkey.
Fattening him up.
They were fattening him up for Thanksgiving. Lincoln's son Tad said, "Dad, we're not doing this." Yeah. So the very first turkey pardon was given by Tad Lincoln when Lincoln was president.
Okay. I see your turkey and I raise you a raccoon.
Oh, a raccoon.
A raccoon.
Oh, that was a raccoon that was raised for
That was the most confusing thing I saw. Grace Coolidge, the Coolidges, who also had 6 dogs, a cat, 2 raccoons, a donkey, a goose, a bobcat, a wallaby, 2 lion cubs, an antelope, and a pygmy hippo.
Yeah. And a partridge in a pear tree.
It's exactly it. And it was the Lords of Leaping that confused everybody.
Yeah.
But Grace Coolidge had a raccoon named Rebecca that was supposed to be Thanksgiving dinner. Mm-hmm. And Coolidge wasn't that long ago that people were eating, Brunswick stew. Raccoon for Thanksgiving dinner is just a little
Brunswick stew is
confusing.
Supposed to be made of squirrel.
I know. Yeah. But it's all that, kind of roadkill stuff.
Yeah.
But you ever know anybody who had raccoons for dinner?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've had raccoon.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've had raccoon. I've had possum.
Tastes like chicken?
No, it's very greasy.
Yeah.
It's very, very greasy.
Yeah.
So
dark meat.
Both possum. Yeah, it's very dark. It's you need to soak it in milk.
Like bluefish.
So you can chew it. Ooh. It's that tough. So raccoon and possum are very similar.
Well, you bring up possums.
Blake, you want some of that?
No, thank you.
Some little possum stew?
No.
Okay.
It could be good for you. Well, Herbert Hoover had a couple of possums.
Oh.
Or he had a possum. He had a possum named Billy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because his nickname was Billy when he was in campaigning. Mm-hmm. So they gave him a possum, and they named the possum Billy. But when the Coolidges had the raccoon, once the raccoon got spared for Thanksgiving dinner, they built a treehouse for the raccoon to live in. Mm-hmm. Okay, they leave office, they leave, and Billy the possum moved into the treehouse that they had built for Rebecca the raccoon. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, didn't they buy a male raccoon to be friends with Rebecca, and that one ran away?
He split. Yeah.
He's like, I ain't staying in D.C.
Yeah, he bolted. Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty wild there too.
Smartest animal on the list. Got out of there.
Got a couple other wacky ones for you.
Yeah.
William Howard Taft was the last president to have a cow on the White House lawn.
Yeah, so he could have fresh milk.
Exactly. Yep, he did. And Enrico Caruso sang at the White House. And, Taft had a young daughter named Helen. And Caruso said, a cow is not an acceptable pet for a young girl. Mm-hmm. So he gave him a dog. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they named the dog Caruso.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So she got a dog out of the deal.
That worked out for her.
Yep.
All right, we got to talk about our sponsors. First sponsor, we got to talk about Coquina Coast Realty. If you have any real estate needs, give me a call. Numbers 904-669-7901. If you're looking for a downtown house that can be an Airbnb, could be a great house for you. It's been a great house for our family. Give me a call. Abare, Kresge and Associates, you're the ones going to have to figure it out once I sell the house. The best CPAs in town. These guys are very busy right now, but give them a call if you haven't got your taxes nailed down. If you're starting a new business and you need to set up an LLC, they'll help you through that process. If you're looking for an audit for a nonprofit, they can do that for you. They handle everything in the financial world that you need. Abare, Kresge and Associates. All right, the Roosevelt Room. The Roosevelt Room located right on St. George Street next to
right in the middle.
Prohibition Kitchen. These guys doing an amazing job. The kitchen is incredible. The menu is great. The food is excellent. I can't say enough about them. They do event space. They take up to 75 people. They'll work with you on your catering of what you need for your event. If you have a small business event, a small wedding, any of those. Actually, that's a pretty big wedding to me.
Right. Rehearsal dinners, great. Perfect for rehearsal dinners, too.
Perfect
right.
for a rehearsal dinner. Yeah. All right. Kaiser's Deli and Market. It's located right there on Anastasia Boulevard, just past the Beacon if you're coming from this way. Just fresh food. To me, the pastrami is amazing.
And the French dip ain't bad neither.
The French dip's great too. And I can tell you this. When I go into a new place, and I did this with Kaiser's too, I go into a new place because a lot of places have French dip. Mm-hmm. I use the French dip to gauge.
That's the standard, okay.
As the standard of a restaurant like that. Because I know it. I like it. It's how fresh that's going to be is how I determine. And he knocks it out of the park every time.
Really is. And, in all candor, you can do a French dip tasting because Meehan's finally put the French dip back on their menu as well. And that's one of their better items. So I think that you should go to Kaiser's, tell them we sent you, get the French dip, and then you should go into Meehan's and have the French dip there, and then go back to Kaiser's and try it again just for comparison purposes.
And then go back to Meehan's.
I think you really should. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, all right, St. Augustine Pirate Museum. You were there. I'm going to let you talk about
I was there. It's fabulous. And I keep saying it's great for kids because they do little scavenger hunts. So if you're going there as adults, there's certainly more than enough to keep you interested, including a legitimate, one of the two surviving legitimate Jolly Roger flags is there on display. And they've got stuff from the golden days of pirates when they used to basically make regular stops in St. Augustine, pillage the place, burn it to the ground, and then come back 3 years later and do it all over again, right up to some of the artifacts and things from the Peter Pan movies. Captain Hook's, one of Captain Hook's hands, the hook, things like that. And that's really, it really ties it all in together. And there's a bunch of history stuff in there as well. So it's really pretty fascinating. And the kids keep busy doing their scavenger hunt. So it's a very impressive place.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a couple of beautiful daggers and swords there that are just spectacular. So there's good things to look at. I kept looking for doubloons, and they were there, but I couldn't get my hands on any of them.
Yeah.
So. I tried.
All right. St. Augustine Distillery and Citygate Spirits. Cheers today.
Thank you.
We might need some more port.
Yeah.
So I'll give them a
in
call.
a storm, anyone.
Port in the storm.
Yeah, anyone. Yeah.
Yep. But
gift it, port in the storm.
This is a St. Augustine Distillery bourbon finished in the port. Just a real smooth bourbon. Always excellent. Never disappoints. Also, Citygate Spirits. Try some of their moonshine.
Great flavors.
Try all their flavors.
Great flavors.
Great
tour.
Very, very creative in their spirits, and a wonderful tour located right downtown on Sponsor Row.
Yep.
All right. I left off with Lincoln.
Okay.
All right. And one of Lincoln's dogs, one of Lincoln's favorite dogs, was Fido. Okay.
Right.
Unfortunately, shortly after Lincoln's assassination,
oh man, that was terrible.
A drunk guy assassinated Fido.
Yep.
All right.
The nerve of him.
But the one thing is Fido is so associated with dogs' names now, and it wasn't until Lincoln's dog Fido
Right.
saw his demise.
Yep. It became the generic for dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, hey Fido, you know that's what you'd call a dog.
Yeah, I learned that today, and I found that was very interesting. That's where that came from for sure.
I didn't know it until
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But Fido saw his demise because of a drunk guy who caught Fido on the street.
There's another dog. There was another dog that had a great name as far as presidents were concerned, and I didn't grab that one, but it was Vito.
Vito.
It was Garfield. It was James Garfield.
Yeah, Vito.
T.O. Yeah, James Garfield.
Vito.
He had a Kit the horse.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Kit the car from David Hasselhoff days.
Yeah.
Knight Rider. But then he had a dog named Vito, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, that's a great name.
Brilliant.
That's a great name. All right. So Rutherford B. Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Rutherford B. Hayes had a cat named Siam. And it was the very first Siamese cat ever in the United States.
Really? Okay.
So, and because they wanted to have a companion for Siam, they had another Siamese cat brought in named Miss Pussy. I don't think that would be the name of a presidential cat today.
Not today.
So, I found that very interesting. The very first Siamese cat was Rutherford B. Hayes. So last night I referenced talking about Fala,
Right.
which we'll probably get to later, FDR's dog, and we talked a little bit about it. Fala was one of the characters from Lady and the Tramp.
Okay.
Little Scotty dog that was Tramp's buddy and stuff like that. I don't know if you remember Lady and the
No,
Tramp.
I mean just the spaghetti scene, of course.
Yeah, the spaghetti scene. But you also, don't you remember? We are Siamese, if we please. We are Siamese.
You're on your own with this one, my brother.
It's Lady and the Tramp. I guarantee you.
Oh, I don't doubt you in the
Yeah.
least. I do not doubt you in the least.
Yeah, but I guarantee you.
Now, was that
Kathy, you can back me up on that thing, but they were so creepy, the little cats in Lady and the Tramp, and they tortured Lady.
Oh yeah, well.
They tortured Lady.
Now, correct.
I hated Siamese cats just because of Lady and the Tramp.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that Siamese cat brought back from Japan by Admiral Perry when he went over there? Because Perry brought somebody back a gift from the Orient.
I tell you what. Why don't you talk about probably the most famous cat in the last 50 years? Socks. Yeah.
Socks held a press conference.
Okay, and I'm gonna find about the Siamese.
Yeah, because I know Perry brought something back when he went over to Japan and China, unless he brought something back from China, and I could be conflating them.
China.
Yeah, China. But socks. But interestingly enough, you're talking about Siamese cats. When the Carters were in the White House, Amy, their daughter, had a Siamese cat. That was her pet.
Yes.
So there was a continuum of Siamese cats there. So that was pretty groovy.
It doesn't say whether or not it came from China. It just says it was the first Siamese cat
Okay.
in the United States ever.
Okay. Well, it had to get here somehow.
Siam.
I don't think it swam.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because
They don't like water.
Siam was Thailand, by the way. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm getting that, but when Perry came back, he brought something. He brought an animal as a gift to the president at the time.
Yeah.
But I'll give you another bovine inspiration.
Bovine.
Bovine.
Okay.
Mrs. Wilson
Okay.
had 48 sheep grazing on the White House lawn.
Okay. That's bovine?
I believe so.
Okay.
Ovine, maybe? Ovine?
I thought bovine was cow.
Cows, but maybe it's ovine?
Ovine sounds more.
Okay, sheepish?
Yeah.
Well,
Mike, can you Google that? If you're still awake in there?
I'll be a little sheepish right now.
Yeah.
But she had them grazing on the White House lawn, and then she would shear them and sell the wool to raise money for the Red Chorus during World War I.
Oh, cool.
So it was a good thing. And then, of course, a newspaper went and wrote a headline that Mrs. Wilson was grazing on the White House lawn, and they left out the word sheep.
Oh, Mrs. Wilson's sheep.
Right. They neglected to put sheep in there. So the headline read, Mrs. Wilson grazing on the White House lawn and didn't put sheep in there.
Yeah.
I don't think that went over well.
Have you ever heard the 100-year anniversary of the record?
No.
All right, so the record
St. Augustine record.
Celebrated 100 years of public service.
It's still alive?
Left out the L?
They left out the L.
That's a hairy thing to miss up.
It actually wasn't that hairy. But that is the headline that went out, their biggest insert, their 100-year anniversary of pubic service.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of grooming going on there, I would guess, manscaping and such.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Did it come from Brazil?
yeah, I don't think so.
Are we devolving in a bad way?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't think so.
So, did we find out whether it's ovine or bovine? I think ovine for a sheep.
It is bovine for bisons and buffalo, and think it's ovine for sheep.
Okay.
Ovine. Yeah. There you go.
Save that one.
There you
Okay. So now, I did a tremendous amount of ghost tours for years in town. And one of the stops I would go to regularly, which is still a pretty haunted building, is where Meehan's is. Mm-hmm. And
it was something's attic before it was Meehan's.
it was a bunch of, and it has been rebuilt because it had burnt down in one of the fires. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of wacky stuff that had gone on there in the iterations of the houses. But I'm not even talking about the haunted stuff. If you go into Meehan's, at the base of the stairs, there's a phone booth. Mm-hmm. In that phone booth is a bighorn sheep.
Okay.
And, how it got in the phone booth is like a bad Groucho Marx joke. I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got my pajamas, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a bighorn sheep in there. And I believe, and I really need to confirm this once again, but I'm pretty sure that I did earlier on, that one of the people that shot that sheep, the hunter, was Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, wow.
And I believe...
I'll tell you what, take a drink and say it strong and look into the camera.
Hi there.
You got to take a drink first. Make it believable.
Teddy Roosevelt shot that sheep, and there's a picture of him holding one horn and somebody else holding a horn, and I believe it's in the Historical Society's library on Avila Street. And I'll have to go in there and talk to the librarian and confirm that because, I was doing ghost tours, so, there's legend and then there's reality.
Yeah.
But I believe...
Well, the weird part
that.
was holding the other horn was Donald Trump, which is really... Really strange.
Right. Yeah. It was amazing how that. Right. Well, there you go. Well, watch Quantum Leap. It's back on the air for a little while.
Woo!
Yeah.
I used to love that when I was younger.
What's that? Time travel?
No.
Oh yeah, the original one with Scott Bakula. That was a wonderful, wonderful show.
They did a really good job with that.
Oh boy.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
That was great.
So you actually tried watching.
Sort of good.
Yeah. You tried watching the new one.
I
do. It's all right.
I couldn't do it.
Well, I do it out of sentimentality.
Yeah. So there are 3 official Churchill's Attic. Thank you, Bobby, for that history lesson.
Where Meehan's was? Okay.
They used to do like a pool tournament Wednesday nights and give you a free bar tab.
Nice.
So yeah. So as long as you won, you had to make sure you won.
Okay. Can we do that at trivia?
No.
Well, you win house cash.
Hey, that's true. We do. Finally. Oh my goodness.
All right.
But the drought is over.
There are 3 presidents that had 0 pets. Okay,
I'm going 2.5.
And one of them was questionable.
Right.
One of them was questionable.
Right.
All right. What are the 3?
James K. Polk.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Donald Trump. Not surprising.
Nada.
And
has no heart. How can he take care of an animal?
And the other one, now this is interesting, and it's Andrew Johnson, not your most popular president, hence the impeachment, which he survived by 1 vote. But apparently during the impeachment, he would feed the white mice that lived in his bedroom. So he got, partial credit for having some pets.
Okay.
So
he had Mises.
Right. And he loved the Mises to pieces.
The Mises. Well, he didn't have a whole lot of friends, so he had to make.
Well, that was exactly it. And it's funny because the citation I saw was acknowledging the fact that it was during his impeachment, and I'm going, boy, this guy was looking anywhere to somebody to talk to. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. All right. So what other ones do you have more recent?
More recent, you've got. I was telling you that George W. Bush had a dog named Spot Fetcher, named after a baseball player, Scott Fletcher.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, this dog served in 2 administrations because his father and mother, Barbara and H.W., had a dog named Millie.
Millie, yeah.
Millie had a brood, and Spot Fetcher was in that brood. So Spot Fetcher was born in the White House.
Yeah.
Left when it was given to one of the Bush children.
And some people might not realize
came back in
that George W. Bush owned the Rangers.
Yeah, Texas Rangers. Yeah,
he had a lot of bad business deals, but one of the best business deals he did is when he invested in the Rangers. and he sold it for a tremendous profit.
Right. And they just beat the Birds, so they're going to the division series, championship series.
They're moving on.
Yeah.
So one of the few teams that has not won a World Series.
Never?
They made it to the World Series, but they never won a World Series.
Okay.
Because the Washington Senators that became the Washington Senators that became the Minnesota Twins, that's the franchise that the Twins were the Senators. Like for a brief time, they were the Senators, but that franchise never did anything. So the Rangers and the Twins both sprung out of a Senator's name.
Okay.
So did I just confuse the hell out of everybody?
I'm trying to remember
you probably did. I have Asperger's, and even that confused me.
Okay, but you understand the Minnesota Twins were the Washington Senators. All right.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Harmon Killebrew, right?
Harmon Killebrew.
Boog Powell.
Okay.
But the Washington Senators that became the Texas Rangers were once managed by Ted Williams.
Yeah, that's exactly the team that which he got so angry because he thought hitting was so simple and his team was awful. I think
it was easy for him.
I think they won like 63 games or something when he coached.
It was easy for him.
Yeah. So
probably could have gone out there and still probably hit 380.
But that's how W got that was his biggest financial boost.
Yeah, well, that and bad oil business, but yeah, absolutely.
But
he did.
The oil business is how he bought into the Rangers.
Right, where he got his money to buy the ball club. Yeah. What else we're missing? We got some other interesting ones around here kicking around. We did the worms.
We got to talk about Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. We brought him up with the Bighorn Sheep, but Teddy Roosevelt he was another one. It was Roosevelt and Coolidge had the most, I think. But a lot of it also, I found that there was a trend. If you had children, if you had children in the White House, you tended to have more pets than not, because the Kennedys as well had freaking a menagerie on their own.
Yeah, and they were only there 3 years.
Yeah.
So
and they were ponies and everything. But Teddy Roosevelt, shall I?
Yes, go ahead. Give the list.
6 dogs, 2 cats, a gray squirrel, a pony, a pig, a badger, a garter snake, a hyena given to him by the king of Ethiopia.
A garter snake named something spinach. I can't remember what the something spinach. I remember the garden snake's name had something spinach in it.
A bald-headed rat, 4 guinea pigs, a hen, a macaw, I suppose.
Yeah. And
the one-legged rooster named Fierce.
Yeah.
Right.
So, a badger.
A badger.
We got to talk about the badger.
The badger,
and Roosevelt's animals did so much damage to the White House.
Right.
They had to actually close the White House and remodel the White House when he moved out. So
had a lot of stains on the carpet, I would think. Well, have you ever been to Sagamore Hill?
No.
That's Teddy Roosevelt's home in Oyster Bay Cove, Sagamore Hill in New York. Exactly. That was his house. If you go through there, it will illustrate everything we're talking about here. He's got stuffed bears, grizzly bears. He's got animal skin rugs. I mean, there's more plaques of animal heads. I mean, the man was a consummate. I mean, he was an environmentalist. He started the National Park Service. He did wonderful
Got
things
lost
for
in the Amazon.
Oh, what a story that is! Oh my goodness.
Him and his son.
River of Doubt. If you need a book to read that will just suck you in, River of Doubt is one of the best books I have ever read.
Die like 6 times in the book.
Yep. So. And they weren't giving up on him, and he got out. And now the river that stretch of the Amazon is called the Rio Roosevelt.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. They named it after him. Yeah, they named it after him. That is just a brilliant, brilliant story, and so well written. This woman has written such a brilliant book. And it's firsthand, because everybody kept a diary. He was writing for Scribner's. His son kept it diary. They had a photographer on it. And the Brazilian guy that was the leader of the expedition also kept diaries. So there was the book was written with all firsthand accounts. It was fascinating. And what an engrossing read. I'm telling you, sucks you right in. It's so good.
No, he was such an interesting character. And I think with him and Andrew Jackson and some of the other, their animals reflect their personality in a lot of ways.
Hence the badger. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to me, that was one that I was just like, okay, if anyone's going to have a badger, it
makes sense.
It's got to be Teddy.
Yeah. And if anybody's going to have a cousin Polly, it's Andrew Jackson.
It's got to be Andrew.
There was just no doubt how perfect that was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Of all the animals that were out there, which one was the most interesting to you?
To me,
They were
I'm
like,
gonna go with
okay,
I like Rebecca the raccoon, and I kind of became I kind of got fascinated by Rebecca the raccoon.
Stuck in the,
well, the Thanksgiving
got
thing
stuck
threw
in the
me off.
treehouse.
Right, the Thanksgiving thing threw me off. That they were raising the raccoon for Thanksgiving dinner just confused the daylights out of me. I can understand the turkey and good job Tad saving Jack. That makes perfect sense. But but there's a beautiful, and you brought it up, and I had seen the picture earlier. There's a beautiful portrait of Harding's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Harding's wife, just an elegant portrait of her with the dog Rob Roy. A beautiful, was it white collie?
I think it was a white collie.
Beautiful portrait of she just looks glamorous in a long red evening dress, and the dog next to her. The dog looks so elegant. It's a beautiful portrait.
All right, and we're talking a lot about animals and stuff like that, and so we're going to kind of take it to a more personal level and stuff like that.
Okay.
When you were growing up, did you have animals growing up?
My sister was given a cat, which we hid in the basement. My sister's 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
And was given a cat that we hid in the basement, and my parents would hear something, and they said, well, what is that noise in the basement? And my sister and I would say, oh, that's nothing, which we had named the cat Nothing. So
you
we
weren't
were
lying?
not we were not lying to our parents.
There you go.
And then on my sister's 21st birthday, a couple of friends of hers gave her a puppy,
Okay.
which she named after the dorm that she had lived in Buffalo, which was Clement Hall. So we had Clement. And, it was the same story that every family goes through. The father goes, and my dad would say, I'm not taking care of that dog. That's your dog. You're responsible for walking it. You're responsible for feeding it. You're sure as hell responsible for cleaning
falls in
it.
love with it.
That was it. My sister gets married and moves. Dog ain't going to California. Dog's staying there.
Dad said, no,
And the
you're not
dog
taking Clement.
that was it, man. And the dog was on my father's lap, and the two of them were inseparable. And it was the type of thing where, as my father got older and the dog got older, it could be like the rain we had today.
Mm-hmm.
My father would put on his football parka because he was a school administrator, so he would get the school graft. He would get the big parka from the football team, and he'd put it on, and he'd pull that hood tight around his face, and he would take the dog out for
with
a walk.
the umbrella, I'm sure.
No, the dog muddled through. Clem was a trooper,
Okay.
but it was also my father, who was a huge cigarette smoker. I mean, the fact that my mother and I survived secondhand smoke is a testament.
My dad,
and
my dad stopped smoking later on in life. It's probably been about 20 years now, but it was after his second heart attack.
well,
He's had 5.
ooh, impressive.
So, but after his second heart attack, he decided to stop smoking after 50 years.
No, and my father stopped after he had a lumpectomy because he had lung cancer. They took out a piece of his lung, and he stopped smoking after
I
that.
might want to stop this.
Well, that was the motivation he did. So that was that. But my father and that dog were, oh man. And when Clem got older, he made it to 15, and he was a great dog.
That's
He
great.
was great. He was a beautiful little mutt. I have a friend Daria who will think differently because our dear friend Daria would come into the house, and the first thing Clem would do would grab her leg and start humping. Only Daria. It was a very interesting dynamic.
I don't know what Daria was doing.
Well, apparently it's something to
Send
make
off
Clem very happy.
Sending off some pheromones of
Right.
some sort.
But when
But what was your like go-to dog like in your life? Everyone's kind of has. I have 2 right now. I have one that's in my life right now. And then I had another one, AJ, who was a German Shepherd.
that was it. I had Clem. That was
had
it
Clem.
for my entire from when when I was 11 until I was the one responsible for taking him to the vet to give him the eternal sleep.
Yeah.
My parents wanted nothing to do with
Blake,
it.
unfortunately, Blake, I'll let you answer this, but talk about your girl, because I mean we're animal family,
Right.
so talk about your girl. You got a cat now, but you got to talk about like your
Yeah, can't do cats.
yeah.
They don't,
She's pretty cool.
Well, I
She
mean,
can be Brad.
Her name's she's a brat, but her name's Tommy, because we let Ty name Tommy, and Tommy got his name because Ty believes every cat's name is Tomcat,
okay.
so that's why Tommy is Tommy.
As opposed to Top Cat,
Tommy,
TC.
Tommy
Yeah,
girl.
yeah, yeah.
It's Tommy girl because she's a girl. We had to and it's Tomi, so it's very
Well,
feminine.
okay, fine.
Very feminine. But you got to talk about Athena, Blake. Your dog's. She was a sweet girl.
Apparently a goddess.
Yeah, she was.
Don't make him cry.
She was sweet, man. The best Like when you hug her, you could just feel like the fur.
Yeah,
like,
she was it's the only
super
dog,
nice.
like my dog Blue right now will put her paws up on you and hug you back. Blue's a great dog, but I'm telling you, Blue's a brat. But I can tell you, but she's brilliant.
What kind of dog?
She's a blue heeler, so she's an Australian cattle dog.
Okay.
And but Athena was a German Shepherd, and I've had probably 20 dogs in my lifetime.
Wow.
You know, and I rotate dogs about every 6 years. It sounds morbid, but that way I'm never without a dog.
Okay.
A very selfish reason.
What do you do with the retread before you get the new one?
Sometimes I have 3.
Okay. All right.
But usually, dogs only live about 10 years,
Right.
so I let the first dog train the next dog.
Okay.
So, and it help train. I do the training.
Right.
I help train. But Athena, of all the dogs we've ever had, is the most loving dog ever.
And she was probably like the fastest learner, maybe.
Huh?
Well, was she one of the faster learners, or was Blue one of the
No,
fastest?
Blue was much quicker.
When you get a smart dog.
Blue is a smart dog. Athena was all about love and wanted to satisfy you so you could train her to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a German Shepherd prior to Athena named AJ, and AJ passed when Blake was really young. But AJ was a former police dog. I got him.
Okay.
I got him because gunfire didn't work for him.
Little PTSD?
And thunder didn't work for him.
Yeah, that's
so
a lot
I
of dogs.
ended
Fireworks.
up adopting him very early on, because they start training these dogs around some of these things and stuff. So I got AJ very early on, and AJ was brilliant. But we've had some dumb ones. So
Well,
dumbest dog we ever had,
Meatball.
Meatball. He
Yeah,
was
I mean
properly
they go both ways. You got dogs that are just and then you got dogs that are just smarter than we are.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we were talking about cats, and I am a dog person, not a cat person. I will be upfront about that. But Abraham Lincoln passed a comment that he had a cat named Dixie. Mm-hmm. And he said Dixie was smarter than his entire cabinet. That was Abraham Lincoln.
I saw that quote.
Yep.
I saw that quote. I can tell you right now, Blue is the quickest learning dog I've ever had. Blue's a like I said, an Australian
A
cattle
working dog, sure.
Yeah, so she's a working dog. So I'm excited to get her on the farm.
All right.
And the reason I picked Blue is because the worst thing in the world to me is taking the dog, like you said, Clem.
Right.
That's the worst. I've not lost a child, which I think would be incredibly above that.
Please, you should not.
But I can tell you right now, losing a dog is it's one of the challenges in life, and unfortunately we outlive them by so much. But I picked Blue because that was the longest living breed. So there's a chance that if Blue lives to 30 and she breaks the record,
Woof.
I'm gonna be in my 80s.
And I don't remember if we got that right, because you did ask that as a trivia question.
What's the
longest? I don't know if it was specifically the dog that lived the longest or the breed.
Yeah, it was the breed. I think.
Yeah. So yeah.
At one point, I think the Blue Heeler had the
I remember
record
the blue
for
part,
it, but I
yeah.
think another dog might have passed that. All right, we're kind of coming to an end. The presidents just gave us so many great stories about their animals and the horses that were involved.
A variety, yeah.
We didn't even talk about Ulysses S. Grant. He had a thoroughbred horse that was a champion horse.
Yep.
And he had
a bunch of horses, but yeah, he had a thoroughbred that was a
he had a
winner.
ton of horses. He had a horse that, the Kentucky Derby was just getting started, but he was at that level.
Yep. Name started with a C, but I don't remember what the name of the horse was.
Yeah, and like we said, right now Biden has bad German Shepherds.
Oof.
And they keep snapping.
They need a rolled up newspaper is what they need.
Yeah.
Whack.
Yeah. Well, they needed to,
train them better.
They some of these are pet save dogs or something.
Rescues.
Like that.
Exactly. Rescues. Yeah.
So
just put a muzzle on until they learn.
But
That's all.
Obama said he was going to get a rescue dog if he got in. He promised the girls, and the girls were like, They already had the dog picked out.
Well, they had to be. Malia had allergies, so it had to be hypoallergenic. So they got a Portuguese water dog,
and then they got another one.
Right. They got Bo as one. But by the way, you know who gave them Bo?
No.
Teddy Kennedy.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. That's right. I did read that.
Bo was a gift from Teddy Kennedy to the Obamas, and they had to get a hypoallergenic dog for Malia's allergies, and then they got Sonny, the female, to be the partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and Sonny's still with us.
Yeah.
So Sonny's still with us. All right. Thank you. Great show. Appreciate it.
Always my pleasure. You know that.
Again, all our sponsors, great bourbon today.
Right. If you haven't taken the tour, at either City Walks or the City Distillery, City Gate, or the Distillery, I really recommend it. You know, they're free tours. They're great. And City Gate is just it's a nice tour. You end up tasting nine of their bottles, and it's just fun stuff.
All right, and Rebecca just wrote 29 years for the Blue Healer was the leader until last year. But Rebecca, you know Blue's going to break that record. So
hi, Rebecca.
Yeah,
nice to hear from you.
I want to say thank you to all you guys. If you would please hit that share button, we appreciate it. We enjoy doing this. Thank you to all our sponsors. If you go into our sponsors, tell them
mention us.
We really enjoy Bollox, even if you don't. Even if you don't. So please do that. We appreciate you guys. Have a great night. This is Bollox Talks and Tangents. See you next week.
Bye-bye.